Grace Independent Baptist Church, a small family church that sits on the corner of Harvey Avenue and Upper Changi Road. On the 16th of July, it will have been 40 years since the church was first founded. It is only by the Lord's grace that we have come so far. So, on this anniversary, let us take a journey through time to see just how He has carried us as a church through both good times and bad.
In 1980, Dwayne Ott, with his wife Geraldine Johanna Ott, decided to move from India, where they had been serving as missionaries for 2 years, to Singapore. In December of that year, they landed at Paya Lebar International Airport. In 1981, Grace Independent Baptist Church was born at 521 Upper Changi Road.
Barely a year into their stay, the Otts faced crisis after crisis. A letter came from immigration informing the Otts that they had 2 weeks to leave Singapore due to visa issue. Another letter came informing them that the building they were using was in an area zoned for residential use, and it was therefore illegal to operate a church there. Not only that, but in order to register the church officially, they needed 10 willing people to sign as charter members. Of the 10 who had initially volunteered, 5 had stopped coming.
However, the Lord provided in this time of crisis. Pastor Ott was told of an old chapel compound in Somapa village that was not used on Sundays. 18 Lorong Gulega Kecil became GIBC's new home for the next 7 years.
While the matter of the building had been settled, the Otts still had to leave Singapore. They left for their first furlough in December of 1981, trusting that God would allow them to return to Singapore. They only managed to return in August of 1984.
When the Otts returned, new towns were being built in Singapore. In December 1985, GIBC started a Sunday morning bus route through the newly built town of Tampines. The church started with a children's ministry, joy club for the younger kids, and youth meetings for the older ones, as well as vacation Bible schools. It was during this period that Pastor Ott met a lady at a bus stop at the Block 201 neighborhood shops in Tampines, who agreed to let him pick up her 2 boys for Saturday and Sunday classes. One of these boys was Nguyen, whom God would later raise up as pastor.
In 1989, the church moved from Somapa to Jalan Pari Kikis, near Anglican High, for 1 year. Shortly after, GIBC had applied for a change of use for the hotel building at 547 Upper Changi Road, which was eventually approved. In 1990, the church moved again, just in time to hold the annual Christmas VBS at the new premises.
Earlier in the year, from March 12 to 16, the first church camp was held at Fraser's Hill in Malaysia with 30 people signed up. In those days, the church owned 2 vans. People, baggage, and band instruments were all squeezed into the vans and bundled off to camp. By 1993, GIBC had around 125 regular attendees, with a flourishing deaf ministry, Chinese ministry, and children's ministry.
In the Otts' August 1998 prayer letter, a short note quietly informs those supporting them of what has befallen the church.
One of the deacons of the church, along with 10 members of Grace Independent Baptist Church, separated and started a new church. They have chartered, registered with the government, and are now looking for a proper place to meet. Even though our numbers are down and families are missing, we rejoice that all programs are now being carried out in 2 different churches.
It was a painful process, with a lot of anger and bitterness. Around only 40 people remained with the church.
The Lord preserved GIBC through the split. Slowly, He allowed the church to grow again, bringing new families in. In 2000, Nguyen Ping made the decision to leave Singapore and study music education at Bob Jones University. Pastor Ott and the church sponsored him. It was at Bob Jones that he would first meet his wife, Melanie.
The children's ministry continued to grow with Vacation Bible School and Saturday clubs. GIBC continued to run Joy Club for children in nursery up to Primary 1 and Patch the Pirate Club for children in Primary 2 to 6. VBS was held twice a year, in June and December. The June VBS in particular allowed the exploration of many themes. For example, one theme was the Holy Land Tour. Each of the 5 days, children visited a different city in Israel and learned about a Bible story that took place there. The church set up a Jewish market with food, crafts, and games, complete with stalls and costumes. Attendance in those days could exceed 100, sometimes almost reaching 150. Above all, everyone learned about the land Jesus lived and walked in.
In 2004, Mrs. Ott was first diagnosed with breast cancer, which was successfully treated. However, 3 years later, the cancer returned as terminal liver cancer. As her condition deteriorated, Pastor Nguyen Ping was voted in by members to take over pastoral duties, with Pastor Ott handing over the role of senior pastor to Pastor Nguyen Ping. This marked GIBC's transition from missionary to local church. The Otts flew back to the United States in 2008 to be with their children and grandchildren. On the 25th of September 2008, Mrs. Ott went home to be with her Lord.
With GIBC now a local church, the deaconship and committees were set up. The first leadership retreat took place in Bintan in 2008. God laid it on the hearts of the deacons then to start certain programs to minister to His people. For example, the Pastoral Care Committee started the tradition of in-house printing birthday cards for church members. The Education Committee also first started with the Layman Bible Education program then.
In 2009, Pastor Ott became GIBC first sponsored missionary. Pastor Ott would set up an English learning center in Kluang, Malaysia. Eventually, this would lead to the formation of Zoe Baptist Church. To date, GIBC continues to support Pastor Ott's ministry in Kluang, both financially and in prayer.
The youth and young adults ministry would also start to expand during this period. The young people used together for singspiration sessions, a time of singing, study of God's Word, and fellowship. In the 2010s, God would also grow our Chinese-speaking congregation. With the increase in members, the church underwent a renovation in 2011 to expand the auditorium.
In April of 2020, Singapore entered circuit breaker in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. All physical services were halted. It was only in October of that same year that we were allowed to meet again in person. During this period, a faithful team helped to keep the online live stream running.
Despite the disruption, God opened up many opportunities for us during this period. Having no in-person services for most of 2020 allowed us to carry out major renovation works to the church building without needing to relocate services. Life groups were also officially set up, a structured way for members to minister to one another and reflect the same great love that Christ has for His church.
Gone astray, He found and brought to God. Guarded and fed by shepherds He provides. We follow Christ, secure and satisfied. May Christ be praised, preeminent and adored. I love the church because I love the Lord. I love the church, the bride whom Christ pursued. Poor and chaste, yet chosen, loved and wooed. Our groom and head in love laid down his life to sanctify the church, His cherished wife. May Christ be praised, preeminent, adored. I love the church because I love the Lord. I love the church, my family o'er the earth. Sinners and strangers made one through second birth. In selfless love, Christ claimed us as His own, and that same love from each to each is shown. May Christ be praised, preeminent, adored. I love the church because I love the Lord.
I love the church, one body, Spirit-led, each part distinct, yet one through Christ our head. Each member serves, and thus our body grows, strengthened by gifts the Spirit wise bestows. May Christ be praised, preeminent, adored. I love the church because I love the Lord. I love the church, the temple God dwells, built by our Lord, we triumph over hell. Founded on truth, apostles' doctrine shown, we build on Christ, our cornerstone secure. May Christ be praised, preeminent, adored. I love the church because I love the Lord. I love the church, the pillar of God's word. We will exalt the truth till all have heard.
As we celebrate 40 years of God's faithfulness, the future remains uncertain. COVID-19 has disrupted physical services again in 2021, and there may be many other crises for us to face in the future, both major and minor. However, we have already come through many dangers, toils, and snares. God, in His grace, has brought us safely through, and we can rest assured that He will continue to lead us on. As Isaac Watts wrote,
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, be Thou our guide while life shall last, and our eternal hope.